Welcome to the Perfect Import presented by Member 365. In this video, we're going to show you how to get the import template, how to add the data to the template correctly, and then how to submit your data for import to the success team. So let's start off by jumping in to Member 365 and show you how to get the template. From the admin dashboard, you're going to go up to contacts in the main menu. And you're going to go down to import contacts. Now, this is where you will be able to review any imports that have been completed by the success team on your behalf. So you can review any that have previously been imported. In this top area, you will see in the import tips, there is the option to download your templates. You can also access the template in our knowledge base. So if you go up to the help center here, you can access our knowledge base, or again, go back to the admin dashboard to our knowledge base. You are able to scroll down and be able to see the perfect import article in the frequently asked questions. And you can also download the template here. So this is a template that you can use to do your main contacts and memberships. If you are in onboarding, the download file is within your task list. So you are able to download it any time. It is the same one that and we do reference the perfect import in there as well. How do you add the data to the template? So let's jump over to the import sheet, which I have here. All right, within the master template, this is for the contacts and member information that you need to import in. So whether they are just simply a contact and you're trying to get their data in, or if they are a member and you're trying to get their contact details and their membership information into the system, this is a template that you're going to be using. This needs to be inputted in first before you can add them to, let's say, any form questions that you need to import for directories or membership applications, or even extended fields or contact demographics. This import needs to be completed first. So even if you're just importing them as a contact, so email address, first name, last name, this import needs to be done first. And you need to either use email addresses, your primary email address, or member number. These two items, so column A and B, are the unique identifiers within the system. And this is how we import all imports going forward. So you need to either pick one. So if you don't have email addresses for everyone, we do recommend that you use member number, and you can simply just start at 100 and then have it continue on for all the members that you need or contacts that you need to import into the system. Everybody has to have a unique number and email address. If you have the same email address on multiple people and their data is different, it will update it. The only time that you would ever have the same person more than once is if they have multiple memberships and you need to get both memberships in under the same email or contact record. Items C to T are the personal contact details for the contact. At a minimum, you should have their first name and last name. Anything else in here is very much optional. You're not going to have all this information. You may not use all of this data, but if you do have it, you can put it in. If it's not something that you want, you simply just leave it blank and it just won't be imported. A couple of things to note here is that if you are using salutations or suffixes or pronouns, that you pre-populate those within the system and they need to match. So you just need to make sure that your spelling is very accurate within this template. So that is for the contact details. Again, you might not have all this information. When you are doing tags, though, make sure that you break them up with a comma. If there's not a comma between, it'll treat them as one tag. The comma is the separator, so that it has to be in one column. Everything is combined into one column. And so this is what you can use to segment your members when you're doing lists too. So I have a couple examples. So like if they're a sponsor, what kind of sponsor, they're gold. This individual is just a contact and they were a speaker at one of the events. So I'm just marking them as a speaker. So next year, when I want to have a speakers list and reach out to people to see who can participate again, I can create a list and do email campaigns based off of that tag. So this next section is your consent settings. So what's highlighted in red here from U to Z is whether or not they have express or implied consent. If you're in the States, you have express consent. If you are in Canada, you have implied consent. Now, I do highly recommend that you look up your CASL and CAN-SPAM laws to know which apply and which one to use, because it's at your discretion. So just make sure that you're aware of those. We also, again, have that in our knowledge base. So in the knowledge base article that is here, it breaks down each of these categories. And then we also have links to the CASL and CAN-SPAM laws, so you can read up a little bit more about that. When you're filling this out, you need to make sure that you're using yes or no for if you have express consent, as you see here in the column. You're entering the date in a day, month, year format. You provide the reason that you have consent, and then we can do that import. If you do not have these columns filled, you will not be able to send email marketing campaigns or even renewal notices. So you need to make sure that you have at least one. Again, make sure you consult and understand the laws and know which ones apply. All right, this next section is the membership data. So from column AA to AJ in the sheet, it's starting off with the category name. So this you need to make sure is spelled exactly as it is in the system. You can have your organization and your individual memberships all together, or just your simple, if you have a contact, again, that is not a member, you will have nothing in this section for them. They are simply just a contact, non-member, where you're putting their information in for marketing purposes or tracking purposes for your CRM. For the next column, AB, this is only if you have a drop-down fee. So if you're using a range of maybe they have X number of profit or revenue between a certain range, you would need to put the name of that category that you've created in here for the fee. 90% of organizations are using flat fee, so this doesn't apply. If it does not apply for you, just leave it blank. It will not import. But if you want to import this data, make sure the name is spelled exactly the same. If you are unsure what category they're supposed to be in, maybe you didn't collect it correctly in the last system or in your sheets are old, they can update this when they go to renew. So it's not something that's necessarily needed. You do definitely want the category and other information, but this one they can update as they're going through the renewal process. The next few sections, so from AC to AG, are for if you have an organization membership. So the first two rows here are to show you an example of a primary. So this individual has the primary membership, and the one below is an employee of that primary. So I've indicated on the sheets that the first individual here, they are the primary. There is no C packages. So C packages is if you're limiting how many employees can get access. If it's unlimited, you don't have to put anything. If there is a limitation, you do have to put the correct spelling of the name of the package. Again, it's really important that everything matches up. If it doesn't match with what's within the system, it will not import. The next column is if they are a secondary. So a secondary is someone who kind of can do the same things as a primary can. They get their own login and credentials for the organization, and they can also assign roles. So designate who the billing contact is and so on. And the next is employee. So these are very simple yes, no questions. You need to make sure it's a yes or no with a capital Y or a capital N for it to import correctly. Then for the employee, you would just simply say, no, they're not the primary. They're not designated as secondary. They are an employee. And then you have to link them to the primary contact through their email address. So I would have to make sure I go over to the primary's email address, grab their email address from here, and then come back and make sure that I place it in the correct location for all the employees that are assigned. The reason for this is because you can have the same membership category for the same organization with different primaries and different employees. For example, you could have your HR department. The director could be the member, primary member, and all the employees within that department could be the employees. Whereas you have then your marketing department director is going to be the primary for that department, and all of their employees will be under them. So it's really important that you make sure that you have them linked to the correct individual. These would be blank for all of the individuals. So if it's an individual membership, it will be blank. For all of memberships that have an annual, anniversary, or term membership, it's really important that you fill out the member since, the inception, and renewal date. Now, the member since and inception date might be the same, or they might be different. See, the member since date is the date they joined your organization, whereas the inception date is the date they joined that membership category. So I could have been a student member in 2019 and then became an active member in 2021. So my membership changed, but I'm still been with the organization since 2019. So it could be the same or they could be different depending on what membership they're in or where they are within your organization. So it's something to consider. If you don't have this information, you could always just start with the beginning of the year if it's annual, or a year before what the renewal date is for the anniversary date. But you do need to have that information in, especially for the renewal dates. If you have a lifetime membership, you do not need to have a renewal date because it's lifetime, but you do need it for annual, anniversary, and term. So just be very careful that they're in there correctly. All dates within this template need to be in a day, month, year format. All right, the next section is getting into addresses. So there are 3 types of addresses in our system. There are residential, there are business, and then there are the organization. Lots of associations don't necessarily use these, which is why I kind of have them blank in this example, or they just let them fill it out during the renewal and application because they don't know which is which. They've never tracked it before. So now we're giving you the ability to do so. If you are charging a tax, location tax, you need to at least have one of these mandatory on your application, and you need to at least have the state and the country filled in to be able to charge tax. So just something to consider. If you don't have addresses, make sure that it's mandatory for location tax purposes, because if location is not on their contact record, you cannot charge location tax, and that goes for events too. So if you're importing people and you know your events are going to be based off of location tax, then you definitely need to make sure you at a minimum have province and country in for each of your contacts. So residential is where they live, business is where they work, and the organization is their headquarters. So I'm going to use Member 365 as an example. So the organization I have here is Member 365. I have the acronym and the parent organization. So Member 365 is actually a child organization from Pixelera. So I can add in the parent organization, and we can then have a tree effect on the organization record. And the address for us is actually down in Canada, whereas everyone in our establishment works from home. So technically our business address is our home address, and the office headquarters address, the organization address, is at our Canada mailbox. So just something to take into consideration. If you don't have any of these addresses, this is something that you can hold off on and have them fill out during the application or renewal process, or even ask them as part of your onboarding for your members to have them go in and update it. But again, something to consider is if they do not have a state or country, you cannot charge location tax. So just something to take into consideration. For your organization memberships, it is mandatory. They need to have at least an organization name to attach to. It cannot be blank. You cannot import an organization membership into nothing. It has to go into a organization. And it's really important that you have all of them spelled exactly the same. If something in here is different, so let's say somebody put a space here, this would create a new organization record. It would not align. It would not map correctly. So you need to make sure that you have these spelled exactly the same for all of the individuals that are related to that organization. For the first person, you only have to put in the address once. You can't duplicate it, but you only have to put it in once and then simply attach everybody else to the organization through the organization name. Again, spelling is really important here. All right, so that is the import data sheet. Again, if there's any of these columns that you do not have, it's okay to leave blank. Again, this can also be part of your onboarding project as you're trying to get people to go into the system, have them update their profile information and so on. So next is, once I've completed my data sheet, looks great. How do I submit it? Well, first is you're going to come in and you're going to save your file and you're going to change the name. So the template actually tells you like your organization name goes here. So here we put Member 365, and I may want to put the date. So today is November 29th, 21. And I'm going to save. And then you're going over to Member 365 and you're going to click Submit a Ticket. And I'm going to open in an incognito window, so I'm not logged in. And it's simple. You just fill out all the information here. So what type of request? It's an import request. My URL, that would be visible here. So at the top, I would just grab the URL, be able to bring that over. What module am I looking to do? I'm doing an import. It's a low business impact. Do I know who my coach is? Find your coach. Import request. One thing to note about when submitting your data, though, is that we do take a few days, a couple business days to complete an import. It is put in the queue. It is a priority for us. But if you have a specific timeline, like let's say you want to launch within a week or so, and the data just needs to get in quickly, let us know when you're putting in your details, give us examples, so that we make sure that it is a priority. Again, like it can be done within the same day, depending on how many we have in the queue, versus what else is other tickets that we're getting in. We do make them priorities, but we just want to make sure that it's well understood that it can't be done immediately when sent in. We try to be as quick as possible, again, within a couple of business days, but it's best to just make sure that you get it in as soon as possible for if you're having any deadlines, and let us know when those are. So I can even say import by Friday since it's Monday. Then you can find your file and then hit submit. Once you've submitted your ticket, you will get an email. You can also sign in to your support desk and see all the tickets that have been open, that you've opened, or previous tickets have been closed. It is not the same password that is with Member 365, so it is a unique password, so just be aware of that. You can always hit forgot password if you don't know what it is, but you can't see all of your previous tickets. Again, it is also emailed to you. So that is how to get access to the template, how to put the information into the template, and then how to submit it as a ticket. If you have any other questions, you are more than welcome to hit us up on chat, submit a ticket. If you have support, a premium support or an onboarding, please don't hesitate to book a call with us. You can also always refer to our perfect knowledge base article where we break down what each of the items are within the template. We even indicate which ones are mandatory and why they're mandatory, if they are mandatory. So just take that into consideration as you're doing this. You're not alone. We're here to help. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for joining us for the perfect import.